Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where we talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fiction genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Originals. So in this episode, obviously, everyone's kind of implementing their own plans of trying to deal with the Hollow. Obviously, you have Haley, Hope, as well as Klaus kind of being stuck in the house, got a protection spell, while Elijah and Freya are all trying to deal with things in their own respective way. Obviously, you have Elijah kind of going off the reservations. He's going to Vincent, asking Vincent to basically recreate the harvest. I don't know what is up with me talking today. I'm sorry. The harvest sacrifice situation. Basically, the whole thing that came up with season 1 that dealt with Davina as well as the other girls. Basically wants to recreate that because he wants to bring back the ancestors. Because the ancestors aren't dead. Their link to this world is cut in Vincent's words. like, you can't kill what's already dead. I mean, that's such a technicality because, I mean, obviously you can kill vampires and they're, like, super dead and everything. But, you know, that... I mean, hell, like, Cade was dead and, you know, you killed it. He got killed again. Nevertheless, moving on. But the fact of the matter is, Vincent was like, I'm not going to do that. The fact of the matter is, why would I do that? I'm only working with you because I need to work with you to get rid of the Hollow. You know, it's not like I trust you or anything like that. Like, this is something, it's like, I'm not, basically that was a terrible thing that should have never happened in the first place. And why would I do that? Because that's something I totally don't agree with. Like, he, out of anyone, is the biggest advocate against the ancestors and everything that they do and represent, especially because they played their own games, especially last season. A lot of not even just last season, a lot of the stuff they've done is for their own benefit. It's like, oh, they're the ones that decide, you know, how things go and things are this way and that way. So, because they're the one that kind of set up the whole Marcel situation in the first place, like wanting him to be the ultimate weapon. No, I forgot. I take that back. That was Vincent and them, but they're the ones who actually gave Lucian his powers because they wanted Lucian to be the one to kill. They wanted to put him in a position to kill the originals. Just, you know, it was all like their own laid out plan. So, but nevertheless, but not listening, Elijah goes ahead and does it himself, which is like very shocking because Elijah is very, like, especially when it comes to kids, he's very protective. You would assume because it's, you know, Hope's in his life and everything. But it's like, nope. But I guess because in his mind, it's like, he's stated before, he will do any and everything if it means to protect Hope and protect his family, and it means even killing these girls. You know, it's like, because you would think, like, basically out of, like, some guilt for what happened with Davina, which obviously him and Freya still have, like, they'll say, like, oh, they did it for this and that reason, which, yeah, they have the reasons for doing it. Do they like that they did what they did? No. So it's a situation where it's like, you would think because he feels like, you know, he'd feel some regret about it. He'd be more reluctant to basically pass that on to someone else and kind of put someone in the same position that Davina was in. But then again, it was like, once again, it comes back to the whole conversation of like, hey, I got to protect my family and everything. So any line that needs to be crossed, I'll cross it. I'll pay the price, you know, because for him, it's like, you know, obviously initially it doesn't work because like the ancestors, they don't like Vincent. They sure as heck don't like Elijah, but Vincent kind of taps into Davina. He kind of calls out to her because last time we checked, she was kind of over there with the ancestors and stuff like that. So obviously she makes the whole situation happen. For Vincent, he's like, yeah, this means he's got an ally on that side. For now, she's the one that's kind of, but now this puts Vincent in a position where he's like, okay, well, I have an ally here, and I don't have to worry about the ancestors kind of like putting their grubby fingers all over his power and stuff. It's like, for now, Davina's in control of it. So I'm guessing that means we're going to be seeing her pop up in some shape or form, I'm assuming. Maybe, I don't know. I think it might also come down to whether or not the actress who plays Davina she might be dealing with other stuff right now. So, I mean, you know, that's, you know, an outside of the show thing. But when in the confines of the show, maybe we'll see a return of her. I mean, obviously Cole and Rebecca are off, you know, during all day. Side note, I thought it was kind of interesting. I saw a YouTube ad for like, a movie that Claire Holt, the actress who plays Rebecca, and I was like, wait, what? And she was doing an American accent and everything. I had to take a second look. I was like, is that her? It's like, it's totally her. I forgot what it's like 47 meters below, I think is what it was called, or just 47 meters. I can't remember. But I was like, oh my God, you're doing an American accent. It's so weird because I'm so used to you with your British accent. But nevertheless, just going off board here. So, but nevertheless, I'm very interested to see where that goes, especially because obviously Davina holds some resentment towards a lot of people for her particular situation, especially the Michaelsons. She's always had a problems with the Michaelsons. The only Michelson she would never really had a problem with was, obviously Cole. But then again, I'm sure the people she hates the most are like Freya and Elijah because they're the one that put her in this situation in the first place. So, whether that turned into something or not, I feel like it has to. It's like, in some shape or form, I'm sure the need for revenge exists there, but I mean, we'll see. There was that whole interesting conversation between Vincent and like Elijah. He's like, "Okay, what's up with you, Elijah? Like, you are a monster. You have no soul. The fact of the matter is, almost like he basically says that he feels sorry for Hope growing up in a house with a monster like him. It's like, you're nothing but a punk. The fact of the matter is, you were willing to do this for innocent children and stuff like that. For Elijah, it's like." For him, like, he's willing to cast aside his soul to do whatever it takes to protect his family, because also, you also have to think about the fact is too, he's taking on even more of the burden because he doesn't want Klaus to ever Klaus has changed because of Hope and he doesn't want to dash that hope that, Hope has in him. Once again, it's like, as they keep saying, like, Klaus is her knight in shining armor, and they don't want to dash that. They don't want to destroy her innocence. Obviously, that's something Haley and Klaus don't want either. Like, she does, like, Klaus is scared of her ever seeing that monstrous side of him. For one, because it might, she might pull away from him, be afraid of him, and never love him. Or she might end up growing up and becoming exactly like him. It's like, obviously, he became the way he is now to spite his father, who's to say Hope won't do kind of the similar thing. That's obviously what's been his greatest fear, so. But I'm sure that's kind of playing a part into why Elijah's doing what he's doing, which I'm sure, like, at the same time, you can also be like, oh, it's not like you haven't done a lot of questionable stuff in the past, Vincent, too. But it's like, Vincent, it's, like I said, there's a very different scale because even Vincent has his limits on what he's willing and not willing to do, so. I mean, to be fair, it's like your wife was kind of in that similar situation, but at least she had the excuse of being like, oh, she was controlled by the Hollow. Elijah's doing this all of his own volition and stuff, so. And now Freya's side of the story is kind of interesting. Obviously, like, she's trying to deal with the whole Dominic situation because she finds out that Dominic's still alive, and she uses Josh as a ploy to kind of draw him out. She ends up using her magic to manipulate it and make it look like Josh is Marcel. That was kind of interesting. She ends up trapping Dominic. Josh is even at one point offering to help, but she's like, no, go away. The fact of the matter is, you're not my friend, right? So why do you care about me? Which Josh kind of immediately walks away. It's like, I mean, he made a point to be like, yeah, I'm never going to really be friends with you. Like, how about we never hang out again? It's like, you're constantly spitting in her face about, like I said, like Vincent, and like, I'm not saying that what she did was right, but the fact of the matter is she holds resentment. Like, she hates herself for what happened with Davina, but it was what she needed to protect her family from the hope. Like, Lucian was going to kill Klaus and Haley if Elijah and her hadn't done what they did, but still, I know, like, it sucks, and it's just that's constantly being thrown in her face. And at that point, it's kind of like, oh, Josh, you want to say like, oh, you want to help me out and everything. It's like, screw that. You already don't like me. I'm the big bad person in this whole situation. Which is like, when you look at it in that perspective, it's like, man, Freya has a lot more in common with her siblings than you would think. Like, when it comes down to it, like, I mean, I guess it's just the Michelson curse. Basically, the Michelsons have to play the bad guy role in some cases. A great example, kind of along with things, is like Elijah was getting close to Marcel, but he played the bad guy just so that Marcel could be there to kind of bring some light to Elijah. I mean, to bring light to Klaus's life and, make him a better person, like make him not so alone, to have something and someone to care about, So it's a situation like that. There have been cases where even Klaus played the villain because it was like he knew it was a role that people expected of him. Kind of season 3 finale, he played up the role of the villain just to kind of divert everyone's attention away from his family and focus 100% on him. So it's there. So, but in this case, Freya had Dominic. But the fact of the matter is, she couldn't go through with like killing him or pumping him from information. Well, she got a little bit of information, but basically, Keelan was in trouble, and basically Freya caught him in such an emotional rush, like hearing that Keelan might be in trouble. Like, she attacks him, and he ends up getting an upper hand, and basically makes her heart stop beating, which gets rid of the protect the spell that's housing Haley as well as Hope. Which obviously Keelan was able to hold off those other people because, like, obviously she has a ring, she has more control of her powers and everything. But for Freya, she for a second took it. Like, at the moment, I was like, I should have known, like, the moment, like, she's like, Freya pushed her away. I was like, yeah, because for Freya, she ends up bringing it up later on. For Freya, she let her guard down. She's never really let her guard down like that before because it was like, her feelings for Keelan were getting in the way. It's like, she's never really had that come up before. It's like, that's constantly a thing of like, oh, the fact of the matter is you caring about someone is a weakness. And her mind is like, yeah, it's a weakness. In the moment, I had the upper hand on Dominant, but then I was so concerned about your safety. I was so worried about you. I lost my focus and it nearly cost my family their lives and everything, which is like, at the same time, it's like, love doesn't, it like this. A lot of people will make you look at love as a weakness. Is kind of the point, but I guess like her story is kind of supposed to take like, oh yeah, love is a weakness, but it's like, no, love can make you stronger because it's like you are stronger when you need to protect something. It's like, look at Klaus and Haley and Elijah. I mean, obviously look at yourself as an example too. It's like you're all willing to fight to protect the people you love most, and that's your family. But obviously, Keelan was like, the fact of the matter is, like, when she saw Freya like that, she was just like, so, like, she was scared because she's like, I should have told you how I really felt. And then, she's about to walk away. She's like, fine, you do whatever you want to, Freya. Because she's like, basically, she's like, Freya, when it's all said and done, when you're done protecting your family, when you're casting whatever spell you need to cast, you need to have that person there who can kind of click with you, understand you. Because she's like, for her, she's like, that person for me was you. Because it's like, you understand me so well. Because like I brought up, as they brought up last episode, I also commented on, like, they're very similar situations where it's like family situations and they're willing to try and do everything from their family. And it's like, yeah, you can get away from your family, which Freya, like I brought up last episode, like, don't know like how that would go, how Freya would really go about it. I'm sure that's the biggest problem for her, is like she doesn't know how to. But before she can walk away, obviously, like, Freya is like, calls out to her, and then they make out. I was like, okay, I knew it. I was like, thank you. Like, I find it so interesting. Like, I don't know. I don't know if they were like retrospect. Like, if you like, I don't remember what episode that was. Like, obviously, like when they first kind of started interacting after she let her out, I was like, I just had this feeling. I was like, dude, because that's what it just, I don't know if I was like, because I was worried I was reading too much into it, but I was like, no, I was 100% right. It's like the way they were interacting with each other. Subsequently after that, obviously, because it was just so obvious the way they would lock eyes and look at each other and stuff. Like those look of like, I'm in love with you, like type of looks. Like you can tell that from a mile away. But that first time I was like, I wasn't sure if I was just reading too much into that, but I'm glad. I mean, I'm glad. Like I said, like I brought up before, Freya needs somebody in her life, dude. Like, she needs something outside of the family to love and to, care for, to be there for them, as well as to have that person there for her, to kind of be there to kind of stop her when she kind of pushes too far. Just like I'm sure a lot of occasions, like Haley should be there for Elijah to kind of keep him from doing stuff like he did in this episode, which I'm sure even now he's probably going to keep that from Haley on what he did. Once again, Haley told him, like, stop going above and beyond, like making selfish actions just to protect our family. We can't keep doing stuff like that. We've also got to care about the other people around us, so doing whatever it takes to protect our family and protecting Hope, And speaking of Hope in this episode, there was an interesting thing that came up between Haley and Kos, because obviously Kos is like, I gotta get out there, I gotta do something. It's like, oh, no, I want to be helpful, like, and like she like Kos was getting agitated and upset, and she's like, she's like, why are you like this? And it's like, she's like, and then she kind of clicks on her, and she's like, Kos, you're not there anymore. And for him, he's like, it's because he spent so long, like, being here is just a reminder of the 5 years he spent sealed away at everything. And just talking about the first couple weeks being worse, kind of driving himself insane and stuff like that. Which she then goes like, oh, you're worried about Marcel? He's like, no, Marcel can rot. Which obviously is like, he says that, but obviously we know he feels a different way. I mean, especially we finally got Marcel's perspective because Hope went downstairs and kind of talked to him and everything. And it's like he finally admitted it, which we all knew. It's like, he's like, I don't hate your dad. He's like, I wish I could. I wish I could hate him. It'd make things so much easier. But how can you hate someone that you've loved for so long, Because he even said himself, it's like, more so than hating Klaus anyway, it's more so that you hate yourself. It's like, he helped make me into who I am and what I am now. But at the very least, because, at the end of the day, it's like, they are still part of his family. Whether he wants to deny it, even if they wanted to deny it, he's still part of their family. especially because Hope is kind of attached to him now. It's like, yeah, Marcel's my friend. She's talking to Costa's like, yeah, please don't be mad with Marcel. Like, he protected me. He even at one point, he told Hope to cover her eyes and sing so she wouldn't see or hear what he was doing. Which Costa ended up later on pointing out is like, that's the exact same thing he used to tell Marcel when Marcel was younger. Which, because Hope was starting asking all these questions like, oh, this looks like toys that were for a little boy and everything. But it's like, who's this little boy? And, obviously Klaus quickly dodged the question and everything. But you immediately know it's Marcel. I mean, obviously even before the chest pops up, it's like, yeah, it's Marcel. So it does seem like they have decided to kind of, calls a ceasefire because it's like they need to look out for each other, because even Klaus is like, yeah, like the fact of the matter is he appreciated what Marcel did, because he's like, I didn't want my daughter to see we're both monsters and I don't want her to see that. It's like, especially in your case now, because you are her friend. So because of that, also, like, because you are family, I will protect you just as much as I will protect my sister, and I will protect my brother, and I will protect Haley, and I will protect Hope, all of them. I won't let the Hollow take them, and I won't let the Hollow take you. Which is really sweet to hear. Like I said, it's like they've spent so much time trying to deny the fact of how they really feel about each other. You really love each other no matter what goes down. Like, take the Michaels, just even the main Michelson family. It's like, even through everything they've been through over these 1,000 years, they still always cling to each other. They fight for each other. And the way Hope was, it's like family now and forever. And it does seem like Dominic is dead this time. He put a protection spell on himself last time. I don't think there's a protection spell to protect you from getting stabbed and then getting your head knocked off. It's so interesting that that's a method of killing in this. I don't remember that's popped up in any other vampire material. Like, I mean, the only other vampire thing obviously other than this is like the Vampire Diaries as well as True Blood, but I don't remember if that was ever a thing. Like, I know it was definitely a thing on, like, the Vampire Diaries. I don't remember how many times that's come up. The one that kind of pops to my mind, obviously, is, like, the whole Damon and Kai situation. Because, like, he came out of nowhere and knocked Kai's head off. That's, like, one of the few occasions. But I'm pretty sure there have been many other occasions. But it's just, I can't remember any other show that's done something like that. Like, I don't know. I just find it fascinating that that's just kind of how I don't know. So it seems like he's definitely not going back. But we did see that he did stab Sophia with that dagger, which we finally got. I got the confirmation because I was still flip-flopping. I was like, I kind of wanted to believe that she had feelings for Marcel, but it's like me being distrustful of everyone, granted, with this whole Hollow situation. You can't help but be distrustful of everyone. The fact is that, he ended up stabbing the blade into her, but beforehand he was trying to figure out what she was up to, because it's like, I'm tired of secrets being kept from me. And it turns out, obviously, she's like, yeah, like, this is all about Marcel. It's like, your feelings for Marcel is getting in a way of what we're meant to do and stuff like that. So showing that she does legitimately care for Marcel. Everything she's done has been for Marcel's sake. She didn't genuinely didn't want him involved in all this. It's like, if anything, it's like, Klaus is the price, fine, sure, but Marcel's to be kind of taken off the board, which no longer probably an option at this point in time. It's like the Hollow will go after whichever one it can, whether it's Klaus or whether it's Marcel. Another thing too, obviously the Hollow made its move at the end of the episode when it ends up possessing Sophia's body. I could be 100% wrong about this. It might have been my imagination, but did anyone else see that when the Hollow possessed Sophia's body? I could have sworn I saw a crescent moon mark on her back. I swear. I also did not realize it was a she until they start using that pronoun. I was like, wait, that's not a pronoun. Oh, what? Is that a pronoun? No. Nevertheless, I don't know. God, English, grammatical aspects of English was a very long time. High school was a very long time ago. I'm an idiot. Okay, sorry. But nevertheless, like, I didn't know that the Hollow was confirmed as she until they start using she. I was like, when did we find out that she was a she? Okay. So that starts sparking a lot of questions in my head. It's like, could this be connected to Haley's family? Like, it directly? But then it's like, what's up with the whole, like, being being a witch? But could it be that she was like, maybe it was before the Crescents became wolves or something? I don't know. Or maybe this has something to do with Hope in a sense. I mean, obviously it has a lot to do with Hope, but I my brain started going through some level of like, oh, maybe it's actually like Hope, like some twisted thing where it's like it's actually connected to Hope, where it's like represents the dark aspect of like who Hope could be with her magic and everything, like whether it's some like time travel stuff or not. I know, just throwing it out there as a possibility. It's like one of those far out there field, like, thoughts, but it was just kind of like something random I was thinking. I don't know. I know it's stupid, but still, that's just kind of where my mind is. So, like I said, I could have completely imagined that, but I could have sworn I saw like a crescent moon mark. But nevertheless, besides, anyway, it seems like even if it looked like it was on the wrong side. It looked like it was on the left side, but Haley and Hope's are on their right side. So maybe, I mean, and it seems like that's a family thing where they all have theirs on the right side. So that probably completely nullifies what I was thinking anyway. So all of this was just pointless. But hey, like I said, this is just conversation pieces because it's just like I love talking about things. So it's like even if I get something wrong, it's like, oh, that'd still be interesting in some weird way that was the case. But it's just talking is all I'm doing. So, oh yeah, and side note, I was about to end this. Before I quickly ended up bringing up the other keynote, we ended up finding out, like, one of the other pieces that belongs, that, like, obviously one of the other pieces it's, the Hollow is missing, is actually in, Sleepy Hollow. I mean, I said that. Mystic Falls. I'm sorry. Like I said, I'm a mess today. I'm a mess. Sorry. Is in Sleepy Hollow because apparently it belonged to the Lockwood family, and obviously we know Tyler was the last Lockwood, and he's dead, so. But also, in comparison to, like, the Vampire Diaries, it's been like 2 years since the Vampire Diaries, I think. Like, since, like, everything went down in the final season, I think. Because I think this is all, this, like, I think it, like, obviously 3 of that 5 years is making up for the time skip with the Vampire Diaries, but then, like, 2 extra years on top of that. I'm thinking, I could be wrong. So, we are having the originals head back to Mystic Falls. They went back last season, yeah. They went back last season. Very interested to see will we see any familiar faces. I feel like out of anyone, probably bump into Caroline, most likely out of anyone, I'd assume Matt, being sheriff and everything like that. But granted, I don't know how far after the series finale, like what, because obviously there's a lot of time skipping around in the series finale, especially when you kind of get to the point where it's like, oh, they're in, well, spoilers if you haven't seen the Vampire Diaries series finale, which I feel like at this point, if you're listening to this, it's like you would have. Not unless it's a situation where it's like, you don't care about the Vampire Diaries, you like the originals, but you don't like that. Which is like fine. Like, I mean, they're different. Like, everyone's got their taste and everything, so I'm not going to judge you for that. It's kind of interesting if that's the case, but nevertheless. I'm very interested to see what goes down when they go the Mystic Falls. I mean, who's going to go to Mystic Falls is what I'm really curious about. I feel like it has to be Klaus. Maybe Haley too. I mean, most likely it's probably going to be Freya because I feel like out of anyone she needs to go. So, I mean, we'll see. Also, Sophia being possessed by the Hollow. And the conversation is like, does Marcel know? Did they ever? I feel like they had to warn Marcel. It's like, oh yeah, your girlfriend, she actually works with the Hollow. Wait, what? It's like, yeah. So obviously he's going to be on a little hesitant, be probably a little reserved around her, but, probably, find out like, oh yeah, probably like the Hollow will probably, pretending to be her and be like, oh, I was just, doing, but I did whatever I could. I sacrificed all those weapons that could be used to kill the originals. I gave them up for the sake of getting you out of there. So just overall, a very good episode with some very, very interesting developments. I'm curious to see where everything goes forward from here. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.